The airlock creaked as the ship docked with a rough, metallic grind. Blake tensed in his seat, fingers tight around the grip of his pistol. He wasn't stupid. He knew what was coming. The signal beacon said this was an abandoned cargo hauler, drifting near the Orion Belt, but Blake had seen the scorch marks on the hull and the hacked distress codes. This wasn't salvage. It was bait. And someone knew. Something was waiting. He slid quietly down the main corridor of his freighter, the wandering jackal, and activated the external monitor. Movement 4 figures, lithe and armored, boarded his ship with silent precision. Their armor shimmered with old-world chrome and stolen tech. Pirate girls. Not just any pirates either. These were from the Sulari wastes, deadly, fast, and known to strip a man of everything. Blake swallowed. Not just his gear. They had a reputation for worse, especially when they traveled in female-only squads. If they didn't kill, they claimed. He backed toward the weapons locker, but it was too late. The lights flickered. A sharp ping hit his ear-stun field activated. He collapsed before he could even blink. When Blake woke up, he wasn't tied or locked in the cell. He was lying on a round bed. Silken fabrics, real silk, not synth, were draped around him. A warm glow lit the chamber, not harsh lighting but soft and pulsing, almost like candlelight. He sat up quickly, realizing his boots were missing. So was his belt. His shirt had been unbuttoned. Blake's heart raced. He looked around. The room didn't look like a prison or a torture chamber. It was a lounge, and it was curated. Personal items, pillows, even perfume hung in the air. This wasn't a raid. This was something else. Something worse. Footsteps echoed outside the room. Then laughter, soft, feminine, and playful. The door opened. She entered first. Tall, graceful, armored only on her arms and legs, leaving the rest of her outfit dangerously open. Her skin shimmered purple-blue like moonlit velvet. Her eyes were large, with golden pupils that didn't blink when she smiled. "You're awake, Terran male," she purred, voice like honey sliding over steel. "We expected more fight from you." Blake pushed up, defensive. "What do you want? My cargo? My ship?" "Just take it." 2 more girls followed her in, both different colors, one pale silver with glowing tattoos, the other green-skinned with long white hair tied in loose braids. All of them looked interested, not in his ship, in him. The tall one leaned down, studying him closely. Her breath touched his cheek. "We already scanned your ship." "It's worthless," she said simply. "But you're interesting." Blake's jaw tightened. Interesting how? They didn't answer. Instead, the third one, the green-haired one, moved closer and sniffed him, literally sniffed his neck, then sighed like she had just tasted fine wine. "This one's clean. Strong DNA, no drugs. High fertility ratio." "What the hell?" Blake muttered. The leader sat beside him on the bed. "We are not here to rob you, Blake. Not really. We are on a mission to collect viable human males. 1, to be exact, and you're it." He stared at her like she'd gone mad. "You're kidnapping men for breeding? Kidnapping?" She tilted her head. "That implies resistance. We prefer participation." The other 2 giggled behind her. Blake felt his skin crawl and heat all at once. "This is insane. I'm not. I didn't agree to anything." She smiled wider, baring perfect, slightly sharp teeth. "You will. We can be very persuasive." The door slid shut behind them. One girl touched a small panel, and a soft hum filled the room. The bed vibrated slightly. Scented mist released from the ceiling. Not gas, but something warm, relaxing, strange. Blake tried not to breathe deeply, but his chest rose against his will. "I just wanted to salvage a ship," he said quietly. "And we just wanted a man who could last more than 2 rotations," the leader said. Blake tried to stand, but his knees were weak. The silver girl stepped forward, placing her hand on his chest and pushing him gently back down. "We've tried others. she whispered. But they didn't have your resistance, your strength, your spark. Blake stared at them. You're pirates. You kill people. Only when they say no, the green one said sweetly. Will. You say no? His heart pounded like a war drum. Was this a trap? A dream? A nightmare wrapped in silk? But they weren't threatening him. Not yet. The leader moved closer again. The real war isn't out there, Blake. It's in here. With US. And you're about to lose. Or win. And with that, she placed her hand on his cheek and whispered, Let's see what kind of human you really are. Blake had survived black holes, alien creatures, and mutinies. But nothing had prepared him for this. Asterisk Blake. Didn't sleep that night, not really. His body rested, but his mind raced. Even as he lay wrapped in soft sheets with the green-haired pirate curled against his side, and the silver one snoring softly on a low cushion near the wall, he couldn't stop thinking. They weren't pirates in the normal sense. They hadn't taken his weapons or locked him away. Instead, they offered food, warmth, comfort, and something stranger, attention, desire. He hadn't felt anything like this since Earth, not even close. But that only made it worse. These women weren't acting normal. And they definitely weren't acting human. In the corner of the strange, decorated chamber, the tall purple-blue leader stood silently, watching him. She hadn't slept at all. Her golden eyes tracked him like a hawk. You're still awake, she said softly. Blake sat up. Careful not to wake the other two. You still haven't told me your real plan, she smiled. We told you already. You're the one who won't believe it. I don't believe a bunch of beautiful alien women go around space, just looking for one man to collect. Her smile vanished. We don't collect. We choose. Our population is dying. Our males are infertile. The DNA from your kind is compatible with ours. But only a few humans are viable enough to merge with us. Blake shook his head. This is insane. She stepped closer. You saw what happened to your ship's systems. We didn't destroy them. We enhanced them. You'll find your engines are already repaired, your food stores refilled. We could have killed you the moment you stepped into the corridor. But we didn't. He stood up. Then let me go. She tilted her head. Would you really leave now? Blake paused, the green-haired one stirred and rolled toward him, still asleep. Her arm reached for where he had been. He felt something deep in his chest shift, like guilt or confusion, or something more dangerous, attachment. No games, he said. Tell me everything. The leader, her name was Korea. He had learned, nodded slowly. Come with me. They moved through the corridors of her ship, the Thorn of Valor. Unlike Blake's rusted freighter, this one was alive with light and sound. Smooth walls pulsed with soft blue energy, and the air smelled like citrus and fire. As they passed other crew, the women looked at Blake with hungry curiosity, but none approached. They seemed to know he belonged to Kyria now. She brought him to a chamber shaped like a dome, filled with starlight. At the center floated a sphere, a living hologram of their dying star system. Our worlds, Kyria said. Our people. We were warriors, not lovers. We ruled space by blade and fire. But it cost us. Blake watched as planets blinked out one by one. Our males became sick, weak, sterile. So we sought the old solution. Merge with another species. At first, we tried clones, robots. Then we found your kind, humans. Blake frowned. So you're just using us? Kyria turned to face him fully. No, we only take those who respond. You didn't just survive our scan. You resisted our pheromones longer than anyone we've ever tested. Your body's chemistry, your mind, it fits ours, perfectly. Blake's voice dropped low. You drugged me. We prepared you, she replied. Just as you prepare soil before planting seed. He looked at the star map again. Why? Me? Why now? Kyria stepped closer. Her voice was softer than before. Because we're tired of fighting, we want to live. We want children, we want passion. You don't understand what it's like when your entire culture forgets how to feel. He stared at her, breathing hard. His instincts told him to run. But something about her eyes, her voice, the weight in her words kept him frozen. Then she did something he didn't expect. She touched his hand, not to seduce, not to manipulate, just to hold it. Stay, she said. Just for one cycle, 29 hours. Then decide. Blake didn't answer. He walked out in silence, thoughts spinning like a black hole. Back in the sleeping quarters, the silver girl, Siri, was waiting. Her tattoos glowed gently in the dark. She smiled when she saw him and didn't ask questions. She simply handed him a warm drink, kissed his forehead, and curled up on the nearby couch, humming softly in a strange alien tongue. He lay down on the bed again, unable to rest. He had come to salvage old metal in deep space. Now he was the most valuable thing on board. Blake was no stranger to danger. He'd escaped collapsing moons, fought off radiation storms, even outsmarted mercs twice in size. But nothing prepared him for the quiet. He had expected chains, demands, maybe even threats. But instead, he got food, comfort, and strange alien attention that felt too warm. Too real. He wanted the ship alone now. The pirates didn't stop him. Some even greeted him gently as he passed, never with weapons, only soft looks and respectful nods. The entire crew was female, all of them different in appearance, but the same in behavior, curious, calm, and careful with him. Too careful. He found the observation deck. A wide, transparent dome looked out over the stars. Blake leaned on the railing, eyes scanning the galaxy. His ship, the Wandering Jackal, floated quietly behind the Thorn of Valor. It looked smaller now. Like a memory he couldn't touch. You miss your ship. Kyria's voice was calm. She stood behind him, holding a bowl of fruit. Strange purple things that pulsed when she touched them. I miss being in control, he said. On my own ship, I knew who I was. You're still him, she said, placing the bowl beside him. But you're also something new. Change doesn't erase you. It reveals you. Blake sighed and picked up a piece of fruit. It was sweet. Shockingly sweet. She smiled. Your body is adapting fast. Faster than we expected. He narrowed his eyes. You mean because of your air? Your food? That mist you used? Kyria nodded, without hiding it. Yes, our environment helps your body accept ours. You're almost ready. Ready for what? She stepped close. To join with us, physically, spiritually. Blake swallowed. You still haven't explained what happens after. Kyria's tone softened. After, you'll have a place among us. We're not just pirates, Blake. We're a sisterhood. And we need a male not just to breed, but to balance us. Blake turned away, staring out the dome. Why me? She didn't answer with words. Instead, she reached into a small pouch on her hip and pulled out a tiny orb. It floated into the Favu air and displayed an image, his medical profile. A full bioscan. But more than that, it showed something else. Something glowing. What is that? He asked. Your core resonance, Kyria said. Every living being has it. Yours is rare. It harmonizes with ours. He blinked. So you picked me because of some glowing scan? No, she said. We noticed you because of that. But we chose you because you didn't run. Even when you were scared. Blake stayed quiet. That part was true. Even when he thought he was about to be stripped, robbed, or killed, he had stayed standing. Still. He didn't like being chosen like a prize. He walked back to his quarters, thoughts churning. Siri was there again, lying on the couch and reading. From a glowing slate, she looked up and smiled. You're back early. He nodded and sat near her. Do you Do you like this? Living like this, chasing down men? She looked surprised. Chasing? No, we waited for the eye to find a match. You came to us. He frowned. I didn't come here on purpose. Siri sat up. The moment your ship got near our sector, the beacon triggered. You were brought here by design, not accident. Blake's chest tightened. So this was all planned? Not by us, Siri said softly. By the last elder of our kind. She coded the beacon. We're just following the instructions she left before dying. Blake looked down. What happens if I say no? Siri paused. Then we erase your memory and let you go. His head snapped up. Erase? She nodded. We don't trap anyone. But we protect the secret. No one must know about us. Not yet. Blake leaned back, heart-pounding. He suddenly remembered something small but important. A scar on his wrist from years ago, gone. He hadn't noticed. But now it was missing. You already did something to me. Siri nodded again sadly. We healed you. The food, the mist, the room, it's all part of it. You've already changed. He stood quickly. I didn't agree to that. Now Siri looked hurt. You were dying of slow radiation poisoning. Blake, that's why your cargo runs were slowing down. You didn't know it yet. We saved your life. Blake stopped. His mouth opened, then closed. She was telling the truth. He remembered the headaches, the fatigue, the blurry vision that came and went. His medkit had always shown minor fluctuations, but nothing urgent. He had ignored it. You cured me? He whispered. Siri reached out gently. You were fading. We made sure you wouldn't die. Blake looked at his hands. For the first time in months, they didn't tremble, and that scared him more than anything else. Blake sat alone in the quiet garden chamber, surrounded by strange glowing plants. The air smelled sweet, like mint mixed with flowers from some alien world. The ceiling above was clear, showing the stars outside, drifting slowly. He tried to calm his thoughts, but they kept spinning. They cured him. That fact kept echoing in his mind. He had been dying, and they healed him without asking. Did that make it right? Footsteps approached behind him. He didn't need to look. He already knew it was Kyria. You're still angry, she said softly. He nodded. You saved me, but I didn't get a choice. You would have died, Blake. Quietly, slowly. Within 3 months, your heart would have stopped. And then what? He asked. You would have picked someone else? Kyria didn't answer. Instead, she sat beside him and pulled something from her belt, a small stone carved with symbols. She placed it between them. What's that? Our bond stone. Each of us carries one. If someone accepts it, it means we're joined equals. Not captor and captive. He stared at it. The stone pulsed with a faint warmth. You want me to take it? He asked. No, she said gently. I want you to choose it. We won't force you. Blake looked away. Why are all of you treating me like I'm the most important thing in the galaxy? Because to us, you are, Kyria replied. Our species has only a few cycles left. We need someone who can bring balance, not just physically, but emotionally. Your presence changes how we feel. I'm not some savior. We don't need a savior, she said. We need someone who remembers how to care. Blake rubbed his temples. He wasn't used to this kind of pressure. In space, problems were simple. Fix the leak, reroute power, survive. But here, everything was emotional, layered, slow. He finally asked, what happens if I take the stone? You become one of us, Kyria said. Fully, no memory wipe. No return to your old ship. You'll live here. As our partner. Our equal. And our mate. Blake looked down at his hands. They didn't tremble. No pain in his chest. He felt stronger. Healthier. He picked up the stone and held it for a moment, then placed it back between them. I need more time. Kyria nodded with respect and stood. Then take it. Blake blinked. What? she smiled. The stone. Keep it. When you're ready, hold it against your chest. It will signal us. She left without saying another word. Blake remained in the garden for hours. He touched the stone more than once, but never held it to his chest. Later, he returned to his quarters. The green-haired girl, her name was Lyra, was there now. She was sitting on the floor, brushing her long hair with a silver comb. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "Too many thoughts," Blake answered. She looked at him with soft, curious eyes. "Are you afraid of us?" He paused. "No, I'm afraid of what I'll become if I stay." Lyra stood and walked to him. "Let me show you something." He followed her through a winding corridor to a small chamber. Inside were walls covered with paintings, some drawn by hand, others with light and color that moved. "These are from human men," Lyra said. "The ones who stayed, not many, but some." Blake stared. The paintings were raw, filled with emotion, passion, joy, even sorrow. "They weren't prisoners?" "No," Lyra said. "They were chosen, and they chose us." Blake stepped forward, his hand brushing over one painting. It showed human man holding a child with purple skin and bright golden eyes. "Is that?" "Yes," Lyra smiled. "Their child." Blake stared for a long moment. Something shifted in his chest. A strange warmth, not lust, not fear, but something deeper. "Where are they now?" he asked. "Some left, some passed away. Some still live with us in different sectors. But their blood is part of us now, strong, kind." Blake took a shaky breath. "What if I can't be that man?" Lyra touched his shoulder. "Then we will still honor you. But I think you already are that man, Blake. You just don't see it yet." Back in his room, Blake lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. The bond stone rested on his chest. He hadn't pressed it yet. But he hadn't let it go either. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time in a long while, he wasn't alone. Blake stood at the entrance of the nursery chamber, unsure if he should step inside. The air was different here, softer, warmer. The walls were shaped like honeycombs, glowing gently. Strange plants hung from the ceiling, dripping sparkling liquid into bowls below. In the center of the room were 4 alien women seated in a circle, and 2 small children playing between them. They weren't fully human, but they weren't fully alien either. One had soft purple skin with black hair and wide gray eyes. The other had a more human face, but thin glowing lines across her arms and neck. They laughed as they tossed a hovering ball back and forth. Pure, joyful laughter. Blake's chest tightened. Karia appeared beside him. "We didn't want to show you this too early," she said, "but we thought you were ready." He stared at the children. "They're real," she nodded. "Born on this ship, half human. Their fathers were men who chose the bond. One from Earth, one from Luna Colony." "They're not prisoners either?" he asked. "No, one stayed. One chose to return home. But both left something with us." Blake stepped forward slowly. The children looked up, curious. The girl with purple skin walked over and held up a small plush creature. "For you," she said in a soft voice. Blake hesitated, then knelt down and took it. The girl smiled. "Are you my new papa?" He froze, then looked at Kyria. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That question sat heavy in his heart the rest of the day. Back in the dining hall, he ate quietly beside Siri and Lyra. Neither asked questions. They simply kept him company, giving him space to think. After a long silence, Blake spoke. "What if I say yes? What if I take the bond?" Siri looked up. "Then we celebrate. And if I say no?" Lyra answered, "Then we let you go. Just as we promised." Blake nodded. "And I forget all this?" "Yes," Siri said gently. "Your memories would be removed for your safety and ours." He looked down at his plate. "But if I stay, I have to be with all of you." Lyra chuckled softly. "Not like that. You would choose. We don't share if you don't want to. The bond isn't about ownership, it's about connection. And children? Siri leaned forward. Only if you want them. We never force mating. Blake felt something shift inside. Again. The fear was still there, but something else had started to grow. Curiosity. Maybe even peace. That night, he didn't return to his room. He wandered instead, through halls he hadn't explored yet. He found a chamber filled with music strange. Instruments playing by themselves, guided by soft glowing threads. Another chamber filled with star maps from extinct civilizations. The crew didn't stop him. They let him explore. Let him see that this ship wasn't just a trap, it was a world. Finally, he entered a room unlike any other. A shrine. At the center was a sculpture of a woman tall, powerful, with wings of light. Below her were carvings, a human hand. And an alien one reaching out. Do you know her name? Blake turned to see Kyria again. No. She was the elder who designed this mission. She dreamed of unity. Her last wish was to find a bond strong enough to hold both our species together. Blake looked at the sculpture. Is that what you think I am, a bridge? No, Kyria said. I think you're a spark. Something that lights a new path. The others who came before, they were kind, brave, but none of them lasted more than a few cycles. Blake turned to her. Why not? They didn't truly want to stay, she whispered. They wanted to escape their lives. You're different. You didn't come here to run. You were already surviving. You had something to lose. He didn't. Deny it. His ship, his freedom, even his loneliness, it was all part of him. And now, it was being tested. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the bond stone. It glowed faintly in the dim light. Kyria stepped closer but didn't touch him. You're not just a choice to us, she said. You're hope. Blake stared at the stone. It was warm again. Real. Alive. And for the first time, he wasn't afraid of what came next. Asterisk. The next morning, everything felt different. Blake woke up before the lights shifted. He hadn't touched the bond stone yet, but something inside him had changed overnight. His heartbeat was steady. His mind was calm. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like he was surviving. He felt ready. He walked the quiet halls of the ship alone. No one followed, no one watched. It was as if the entire crew already knew he needed space. They had stopped pressuring him. Stopped trying to guide him. Now, it was his decision alone. He reached the ship's central garden and stood near the pool of glowing water. The bond stone rested in his hand, heavy like a promise. He closed his eyes. He didn't hear footsteps this time. Only the quiet breath of someone beside him. It was Lyra. She didn't speak. She simply stood next to him, close enough to touch, but not forcing anything. Finally he turned to her. I think I know what I want, she smiled gently. Then you should speak to Kyria. The ritual only begins when the bond is accepted out loud. Blake nodded and left the garden. He found Kyria in the command chamber. She stood tall, her long violet hair tied back, golden eyes watching the stars. I've made my choice, he said. She turned, face unreadable. And Blake held out the bond stone and pressed it to his chest. It glowed brightly warmer than ever before, and then released a small pulse of energy that rippled through the ship. Kyria stepped forward and took his hand. For a long time she said nothing. Then softly she whispered, You've chosen us. I have, Blake said. But not just because you saved me. Not because I had no choice. I'm doing this because I want to understand. I want to belong somewhere. Kyria's expression finally changed. Relief, pride, something deep and emotional passed through her eyes. We begin the ceremony at dusk, she said. You will be given a private chamber for preparation. We don't force tradition, but if you're joining our people, we want you to feel welcomed. Blake nodded. I'll be ready. He was led to a chamber covered in soft fabrics and warm lights. He was bathed, dressed in ceremonial robes that shimmered when he moved. Number. Armor, no weapons. Only peace. By evening, the entire crew gathered in the main hall. It wasn't a wedding. Not exactly. But it felt close. Dozens of women stood in a circle. Music filled the air, deep tones, slow and steady. The floor lit up with every step Blake took. In the center of the room, Kyria waited. She wore no armor, only a long wrap of woven gold and white. She looked more regal than ever, but her eyes held softness just for him. Blake stepped into the center. Kyria placed her hand over his. "Blake, of Earth," she said, voice steady. "Do you accept the bond not as a prisoner, but as one of us?" "I do," he replied. The women around them hummed a low note that vibrated through the air. "Will you share yourself with us, not just your body, but your strength, your fears, your will? Yes, will you protect what we build together, even if others don't understand it?" "I will." Kyria's fingers tightened around his. "Then we welcome you." A burst of light shot upward from their hands, disappearing into the ceiling. The crew cheered. Not wildly, but with quiet joy. Siri and Lyra approached from the side and placed bracelets on Blake's wrists. Not chain symbols of balance. One of silver. One of soft green fiber. "You're not ours," Siri whispered, smiling. "You're with us." "Forever," Lyra added, placing her forehead gently against his for a moment. That night, the ship's halls glowed brighter than ever. Blake didn't return to his old room. That part of his life was done. He was led to a new chamber, larger, warmer, filled with small gifts, a carved sculpture of Earth, a rebuilt comlink connected to human space, and a digital log from his old ship, cleaned and restored. Wall, a new symbol had been painted, a star, and beneath it, two hands joined. Blake sat on the edge of the bed, holding the bracelets on his wrists. He had come expecting danger, theft, and pain. Instead, he had found something terrifyingly rare. A place where he was wanted, not for what he had, but for who he was becoming. The next few days on the Thorn of Valor felt like living inside a dream. Blake no longer walked the halls as an outsider. The crew nodded at him, not out of duty, but with real respect. He joined daily meals, worked with engineers, helped repair communication systems, and even taught a few women how to speak basic Terran phrases. Siri joked often now, laughing at his stubborn way of fixing things with duct tape. Lyra began copying his old habits, drinking strong tea, humming Old Earth songs she barely understood. And Kyria, the tall, regal leader who once terrified him, now sat beside him every evening, sharing stories of the lost stars and the history of her people. Still, not everything was calm. On the fourth day after the bond, a red alert echoed through the ship. Blake was in the navigation bay when the alarm sounded. Kyria's voice came over the comm. "All stations, prepare for boarding. Unknown ship approaching. Human signal detected." Blake's heart dropped. A Terran battleship. He rushed to the main deck. Through the viewport, he saw the massive gray vessel hovering above them. It was marked with the Terran fleet logo. These weren't pirates or smugglers. They were official and armed. Kyria stepped beside him. Her face was still calm. "They followed the signal from your ship. It was bound to happen. They think you kidnapped me," Blake muttered. "Then you must show them the truth," she said. The Terran ship sent a docking request. Blake grabbed his old jacket, cleaned and folded in his quarters, and slipped it on. It didn't feel like it fit anymore, not just physically, emotionally too. When the airlock opened, two human soldiers stepped out in heavy armor, blasters drawn. Behind them was Captain Rena Trask, a tall woman with gray eyes and short silver blonde hair. She stared at Blake as if she couldn't believe her own eyes. "Blake Monroe, you've been listed missing for 6 standard weeks." "I'm not missing," he said calmly. I'm right here. Trask glanced at the alien women behind him. They took you? He shook his head. They saved me. Then. What is this? She asked, pointing to the environment. Alien influence? Biobond signatures? You've been changed. Blake stepped forward. Because I was dying. Radiation sickness. They healed me. No tricks. No force. They gave me a choice. Trask narrowed her eyes. You're compromised. I'm alive, Blake replied. And I've never been more myself. The soldiers raised their weapons, unsure of what was going on. Kyria stepped forward but kept her hands open, showing no threat. We are not at war with your kind, she said. We only seek survival. Your man is here by his will, and we will let him go. If he asks. Blake turned to Trask. You want a wheel? Take me back to Earth? Back to more scavenging, more cargo runs, more empty stations and broken systems. You belong to your people, Blake, she said. He took a deep breath. Then let me show you who my people are now. He tapped his chest. The bond stone, now embedded into a soft seal near his collarbone, lit up. The lights around the chamber shifted. The walls displayed the nursery, the children, the gardens, the art from past human men, evidence of peace, of healing, of love. Trask didn't speak. She looked at the images quietly. After a long pause, she lowered her hand. I'll report this as resolved, she said. Voluntary stay, no foul play. She turned and looked him straight in the eye. Are you sure about this? Blake nodded. I've never been more sure. The soldiers stood down. When the airlock closed again and the Terran ship undocked, silence returned to the Thorn of Valor. Blake let out a long breath. Kyria walked to him. You stood for us. He turned to her and smiled. No, I stood for myself. She reached out, touching his wrist gently. You are ours now. Not by capture, but by choice. Later that night, under the stars, Blake stood in the garden chamber. Once more, the two hybrid children ran to him and hugged his legs. One called him Papa again. He bent down and lifted them both. Siri and Lyra joined him shortly, each carrying soft blankets. The four of them sat together on the soft grass-like floor, Kyria joining them a moment later, for the first time in Blake's life. He didn't feel like he was floating alone in space. He belonged. Not to Earth. Not to a ship, but to a new family. A new future. And he had chosen it.